Well. What an absolute diabolical show. Crypto has been cancelled for Christmas. It has. You know? It's not no crypto winter, right? This is Antarctica vibes. Honestly, I'm going to stop projecting Bitcoin because it's just down. That's all it does. If Nvidia can't even pump Bitcoin, nothing's pumping Bitcoin. You see what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Not even the world's most valuable stock is able, with stellar earnings, is able to keep investors at bay. It's just done and dusted. Now, there could be some truth behind it. If you look at the correction on Nvidia right now, it's not really lost anything other than yesterday's gains. So we're back to square one before the news was released. People made some money and people lost some money. Job done. Just get rid of this. XRP's going faster than Bitcoin. Get rid of him. Tino, what influence did ICT have on you? Did you meet the guy? Just wondering. Did I meet the guy? No. I didn't meet ICT. He's a funny dude. He is funny. You know, when he starts talking about how, what does he say? He runs his mouth, but method to the madness. You know, when he starts getting angry, that's when he's at his best. That's what I think anyway. But Wall Street Tino is always right. Make him mad love to you, my bro. All right, listen, look. Let's get with the program. What's caused this drop? A little bell has just triggered. It's gone ding-a-ling-a-ling. What does that mean? Yes. Bank of Japan is in crisis mode. They are. Not crypto. Forget crypto. All right? Crypto can just... I give up with crypto. I really do. But yen... This is your problem. Bank of Japan are going to increase the interest rates. They are. I showed you this earlier on. Okay. They are at crisis point right now, and they are not going to give 25 trillion. I found out that's not what they're going to borrow. It's the stimulus package is equating to 25 trillion yen. All right. So my guy with the shorts. Okay. Then of course, yeah, shots, sorry. You can take a shot because I just said yen. There's your second one. Now, let's just get with the grit of things because my focus point tonight is, this is what's making Bitcoin drop, all right? If the fact that the Japanese do not do something about the idea that dollar yen is in Forex intervention levels, the yields are so high, okay? Let me just marry a logic to you, okay? Just to put it into perspective. Let me just show you something, all right? And I'm going to keep talking about it because people are now talking about it on X, going on like it's new. Going on like it's a newfound thing. You know about details and dates and what have you and charts and flipping. All right, then. So let's look at where we were September 2022, okay? September 2022, where were we with the Bank of Japan's yield? Right, check this out. 2022, let's go over to 2022. This is 22 now, yeah? And we were, when was their last intervention? Let's go November 2022, okay? So November 2022 would put us... right bang here, okay? So, November 2022 is there, right? Inside of this range. Oh, for God's sake, what was it? Oh, there we are. So, November 2022, that is where the Japanese yield was. In 2022, when they last intervened and purchased dollars because dollar yen had succeeded the range of 150. So, when it goes to 150... that is actually deemed as a negative for the yen because it hurts them in terms of trade, because it's hard enough already that they have an deflated currency. That means you need a whole lot more of them just to meet up to the demand against the dollar of the yen, right? So it's going to hurt them in trade. It's a win for the US, but it's bad for the yen. They can't sustain that. Their yield was 0.23%. So that looked like you had yourself a happy bond investor, all right? Very heavily into the bonds. That's where we are now. This is not sustainable for them. They have yet to intervene. They are at a crisis point. They are practically advertising they're going to unload the carry. They're going to increase the interest rate to normalize their policy because they don't have a normal policy. Okay? How can you borrow money for so long, for so cheap? And when you're giving out so much of it, $25 trillion stimulus package. Do you understand what that is? If we were to say, here's a $25 trillion stimulus package for the US, Nvidia would be $700, okay? Bitcoin would probably be 3, 4, 500,000. XRP would be exactly the same flipping price that it is now. And yeah, but $25 trillion is not that much. Okay? Yen, that is. 25 trillion yen. In my opinion, guys, we're heading into the carry, and I think they're all pricing it off right now. I think they really are pricing it because everything was good news. All right, we got interest rates higher for longer. So why would the market go down when interest rates are lower compared to what it was before at 4.5%? And the market just said, yes, please, let's just go. Let's just keep going up. This game's fucked. It is. Look, I don't like to, swear. I don't like it. I like to come onto my lives and I like to talk about the logic of the marketplace to help you understand it, okay? It helps me understand it so that I can regurgitate it when I'm getting ready to take a trade and what have you. For the last couple of days, I have not been able to even take a flipping trade because my window that I try and come and trade in, it scares me. I don't want to piss around using light size. I want to get in. I want to put the size on. I want to get in with the most amount of money so that I can make the most amount of money within the shortest amount of time. That's what a scalper does. And if we do not have the environment, if you don't have a feel for the market and you feel that you are disconnected from it, because I can sit at my charts and I can look at them for 6 hours straight before I can even take a trade. Okay, I'll chat in the Discord. I'll say, yeah, we got some movement here, but until I'm refined with my decision making process to get into the trade, I'm not going to take the trade because I like to go all in. I like to put everything in, not everything, but you get what I'm saying. As a scalper, our goal is to use a lot of size for a short period of time. Okay, that's what scalpers do. Some might beg to differ, but what do you think the game is? Anyways. But we've got ourselves a little bit of a problem right now. And I just want to warn you that once we do hear about the Bank of Japan cutting on the increasing the interest rates, the fact that they haven't done so already is telling me that the market is still getting primed to go even lower because that will then force carry traders to unwind the dollar. Funnily enough, your dollar today has started to get close to the appreciation of 100. I said this. When dollar gets to 100 plus, that would be a worthy time to start getting rid of stock. Inflate the value of the dollar. At least you're making yourself a return, okay? So that your dollars are somewhat more valuable. Then you can go over to the bonds market and plant yourself over there and lock in a yield. Because when the carry comes in, the dollar gets devalued because investors will sell it back into the yen. And then they will also go into the euro, okay? So this now is going to lead to another transition. Once dollar actually succeeds above 100, that's when I think that they're going to actually start unwinding the carry. And then, of course, they're going to declare the interest rates getting increased. And then, yippee-ki-yay, ladies and gentlemen, you have got yourself the contraction that you wanted. And your Bitcoin has just got a little bit cheaper. The marketplace itself is saying that everything is overvalued. Nvidia has let us down. It shows you that the AI darling Nvidia Corp, surprisingly strong earnings report, failed to allay investor worries about lofty valuations going over into Nvidia. My days. You absolute clown. The crazy thing is, what did I say this morning in the live stream? Like, oh, you got a nice potential vector candle recovery. I didn't do nothing about it. I'm not a gambler. No way. No way. Tino, can you give an update on gold? Why it's stuck in a range? Where have you been? Are you new? Tekazil, where have you been, my bro? Are you new to this live stream? Please tell me you're not new. It tells me you're not listening. Why are you asking why gold is stuck in a range? I would like the pattern watchers to explain. I'll obviously explain, but I want to know if they've been listening. Bitcoin bottom today. We are going to 150K. Yeah, but they said that when it was at 100. Come on. Tina, help. What's going on? Our possible 2019 scenario for Bitcoin. Why? What happened in 2019, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it pulled back. It pulled back because of what reason? You had low interest rates, right? There was no problem before 2019. Like, well, what was the issue then? We didn't really have any issues. Okay. Then, of course, we went into... No, we did. You know, we went into COVID, and then everything just went crazy from there. Tino, it can't go below 100K. That's what they said. I know. Oh, my days. Are we in a bear market already? Yes, we are in a bear market. Gold is at this price because they are waiting for interest rate decision, my fellow brethren, priests, the quant that comes to me and tells me what the story is. Tino, a lot of viewers need to take your long-term view of Circle seriously. They provide a service involved in stablecoins and have former Federal Reserve members on their board of directors. Don't tell me that, my bro. They need to understand why I keep banging on about that. It's because of the moon phase. The sad truth is, it is probably because of the moon phases. Bitcoin Options CEO says they're suppressing the market so they can buy up or take over management of smaller crypto firms. I wouldn't be surprised if they one day go after Tether. Brock is a weak link. Brock. Okay. Anyways, cool. Tino, you've slipped back into shouting and sounding like my missus. Please chill, as you are hard to listen to when you like this, and you are a complete star and you know your stuff. Please chill, mate. I can't chill, my bro. Can you explain to me, is it possible for me to chill when you have stellar performance from the world's greatest, most valuable stock with the best stellar performing fundamentals known to man ever in history, and it does this? But then it just goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, that the proof is in the pudding, that they do believe that the market is overvalued. Why do I read the negative stuff? You're too much, Tino. What do you want me to say to you? Are you good at blackjack? Been banned from a couple of casinos for card counting, but we will not get into that. Some retail mentality now coming into the chat confused. Good for them. All right, how many of you are new to the live stream? This is wonderful. How many of you are new? And how many of you have contributed to liking the stream? 189 of you. That is pretty dead. So the biggest story for us right now, for anybody new that's passing in, is the Japanese yen, okay? Share this live, tag it, do what you need to do, because we've been talking about the Japanese yen before they even unwinded the carry trade back on the 5th of August, 2024. And then more importantly, I've been preparing you all for it because the Bank of Japan's yields are actually screaming right now, telling us that they're getting ready to unwind the yen, unwind the carry. When they unwind the carry, the dollar dominance decides to go back down. Then they go over to the bonds, and then they go into yen, and they go into euro. Stock market goes down, and Bitcoin does what? It goes in the bin. So let's get with the idea, the possibility of Bitcoin going lower than 50K. I mean, come on, with the way it's been behaving, it's down nearly 30% for, oh my God, like, come on. No, but clicked like because I'm not an, Thank you very much, my bro. Thank you very much. I am old. I was here for the face reveal. Leety, no problem. Dead, never chill tea. Can we see gold hit 5K next month when we get our recession? No, we get our rate cuts. That's when we get gold to 5K. Rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts. Gold works inversely to the interest rates. Why? Because the yield on the dollar will be dead. But see, this is the crazy thing. Yield on dollar, you get yield on the dollar. And you would assume that you would get yield on gold, but gold is a zero yielding asset, okay? So they go over to it when they know that the yield against the dollar ain't going to be good. Because what do you buy gold in? Dollars. So why would I retain my dollars and go into gold and not go into gold when the interest rates of the dollar itself is being reduced? That means as an investor, I'm going to be like, all right, cool, what's your story? How much are you going to give me for borrowing your, buying your bonds? And then you'll be like, I'll give you 4.1% on the 10-year. Okay. And then what's your current interest rate right now? Well, we're currently looking at cutting. We're currently at 4% there or thereabouts, but we're trying to get into a range of 3.75, 4%, with the prospects of us dropping down between 3.25, 3. All right, shut up, man. Not interested. I'm going to be earning less with you. Okay. Gold, how you doing, sir? That's why gold is not doing anything, because we don't know where we are with it. When gold consolidates, the hedge is being created. I say it so many times. I repeat myself all the time. And some of you might be sick of it, but you're seeing it happening in real time. Okay, go back in all my streams where we've mentioned gold. They're consolidating, getting ready for the big pump. And then all of a sudden, something happens and gold pumps. For every event that is unfolding in the bigger world, they are preparing for it in the financial world. Okay. Because fundamentally, investors' money still needs to be put to work. Hedge funds don't sit on the sidelines and go, oh, we'll wait for Bitcoin to go beyond 100K. No, we're not going to, wait for a whale to start doing something. Let's wait for the ETF. No, they're not going to do that. They have to maneuver the money. This is where rotation comes in. Now, the biggest rotation is about to unfold. And, well, there's two rotations that could be unfolding. The first rotation is investors come out of big cap stocks like the tech market because of overvaluations, plus the speculation that they don't think that they are going to be generating the return based on all the capital expenditure that they're putting out into AI and amongst themselves. Two, you've got the unwind of the carry trade, okay, which is going to force a lot of investors to get rid of exposure in the stock market, plant it into dollars. And if they did borrow yen, then they would have to return that yen back. So they're not subject to the rate increase, which means the corporate finance that they use to borrow the yen will then effectively get refinanced at a higher rate, meaning that they're going to be losing their returns. They don't want to be doing that. So they will quickly get out of dollars and then they will go back into yen. The third one is the rotation of stocks itself. In the sense, investors will be coming out of big tech, going into small tech or small stocks, small caps, and they will rotate. One day you'll see a stock moving up, small stock, and then it will come straight back down again. When you start to see the small stocks performing better than the big caps, it means investors have a low expectation of the future. In other words, they don't want to be locking their liquidity up for long. In other words, small cap stocks is Wall Street's way of playing Solana with meme coins. That's exactly what it is. And when we start to see out of the blue names posting stupid gains and then instantly the next day they're coming down with losses, it tells you that investors are in small caps and they're not favoring value-based stocks like Nvidia, Google, Meta. So they're not looking to stay in those. When you start to see aerospace and defense coming into play, all of a sudden Trump sent two B-52 bombers, whether it's true or not, to go over the Venezuela. Okay, so it looks like someone's got a contract. So we're now going into war. Brilliant. Aerospace and defense stocks. That's going to be good. And what's the result of war? Well, ultimately, people are going to end up getting hurt. That's the sad truth. Okay? People are going to end up getting hurt. So where are you going to invest? Medical sector, because those are the two sectors that will always outperform in any recession, any inflation, any market crash. They will always deliver because investors know that whatever happens in the world, those are the two sectors, A, that get continuous funding, and B, it doesn't matter what the state of the economy is. They still need to operate because fundamentally people will be sick. People will be coming to being born, like children, what have you. People need treatment. It doesn't stop. Okay? That is pretty much what's going on in this world. So to sum up, stocks that do not pay dividends are just pure speculation. Correct, because they're not deemed as value. Okay, if you've got a stock that does not pay you a dividend, why are you holding it? The whole point of the stock market is to get yourself to pay dividends. Why do you play ETFs? ETFs are dividends, okay? Money markets. Why do you think they're planting themselves over there? Why do you think they get involved in real estate ETFs? Because they just pay dividends. You've got weekly dividends, monthly dividends, quarterly dividends, all right? That's why there's $7 trillion sat over there, and they're witnessing when is it now a good time to start getting involved in there. This rally to the upside on the NASDAQ is $17.5 trillion, man. Of course there's going to be a pullback. But how much of a pullback are we going to have for Bitcoin? China going for Taiwan. You have different views of the market. Dan always. I would love to hear it, my bro. I got another guy in here called Priest that says, Tina, do you know what the beverage curve is? I'm like, of course I know what the beverage curve is. And he comes to me with the SOFR, which he was actually speaking about quite some time ago, and says, T, this has spiked up a little bit. Should we be worried about it? I was like, a little bit. But he came through with the goods. Hey, man, any advice on revenge trading? Yeah, buy a punch bag. Sell all my Bitcoin now. Look, man, it's not a case of whether you sell your Bitcoin now. When did you buy it? If you bought it at $10, why are you here? Why are you here? You know? If you bought it at 124,000, sell it. Japan 30-year yield is matching perfectly with the inverse Bitcoin chart. Can we get a relief rally to 101 before we tank? If investors didn't even bite when it came to Nvidia doing well, why would we get a relief rally? Where's the relief? Relief for what? As long as interest rates remain high, Bitcoin will continuously struggle. And it's already got a bad name because it's been deemed as a speculative investment. The street doesn't want it. They're going to stick to what they know. And that is your gold, your oils, aerospace, medical, bonds, ETFs. That's what they do. There is the chicken rotisserie of stocks happening right now. They're rotating. It's one of those. Here we go. I've seen this the last 2 days with crypto. Stupid 100 and 200% pumps in a day on stupid coins. If you exploit it, you exploit it. See, every time I see Bitcoin charts, I have to change my underwear. Why do I read the wrong comment, man? I missed it as beverage curve and thought it meant amount of unemployed people taking drinking. That's how much I know about the market. That's funny. Unplug your internet if you're revenge trading. Go gardening or birdwatch. Gardening and revenge? No. Tino, Tom Lee again came with a new price projection. Bitcoin 250K and Ethereum 20K. Listen, if I was holding, nearly $12-15 billion worth of Ethereum, I'd give a nice projection, wouldn't you? I mean, I would. I would hope. Tino, I really like your content. Mad love to you, my bro. I love XRP. Well, I'm going to stop reading your comment now. Do you care to share your projections for the next cycle? Next cycle? Are you looking for a next cycle? I'll give you a next cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, the next cycle is XRP will be coming down to recover this wick. That's your next cycle. I'm telling you, it's going to recover it. I have strong belief it's going to recover it. Unless something great happens. But today we had something great, which was Nvidia. Now that investors have just left Nvidia, okay, because this confirms that they think everything is overvalued if Nvidia could not sustain itself. Looking at Nvidia, we are either going to get ourselves great news tomorrow by some freak of nature that Nvidia will come back up and recover this vector candle, okay, by some freak of nature, okay? But if the out of hours markets keep on going lower, we're going to have a problem. And going into tomorrow, flash services PMI, if that shows the economy is doing all right, 54.6 and 52.0, spot zero. Expansion in the economy. We don't need to be cutting interest rates. Sorry, mate. We don't need that. Take your FOMC. Here we go. Look at this. Here we go. Right. Here we are. 60 is done. This is done. Gooseby. I believe rates will settle below the current. You know, I'm sick and tired of reading FOMC speakers. They're just full of it. They are really full of it. They don't provide any value whatsoever. Right, like the stream, please. Tino, mic me up with Bond camera glasses and I'll casino for you. I'll be like your remote control car for gambling. Okay. Microsoft share return 0.76%. So if you buy maybe in 60 years, you'll have twice as much money. Also, due to inflation, you'll have even less, twice as much. And you bet it will exist in 60 years. Yeah, that's true. XRP has more inflation than tokenomics than my ex-girlfriend with her. Okay. Tina, can we get your opinion on the crypto, CeeLo and H-bar? My friend, my bro, listen, I'm going to be straight with you, okay? But let me show you. When someone asks me for a price projection on any cryptocurrency, or should I say any altcoin, this is what happens. I mean, why is this guy doing this? I'd need to find out. This guy told you, don't short this thing. Do not short it. And whoever was shorting it, shame on you, because look what's happened to you. C98, doing all right, okay? NKN doing all right. One doing all right. SLP doing. I don't even understand why that's still going. Chromia, there you go. SXP and then Win. I don't even know why Win is still there. Alice still doing the same thing. What are you noticing about these altcoins? Now let's get to the ones that aren't trading too well. Here we go. 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 That's even Solana's in there. So what I'm trying to say to you is all altcoins are doing exactly the same thing. There's nothing different. So a price projection on H-bar would be no different to a price projection on anything else. So if I just gave you a random coin and spoke about H-bar, I think I'd be able to represent the majority of all altcoins. That's the problem we have got. Now, H-bar's come to a 13 cent 59 discount. I think it's still got plenty of room to go lower, down to 10 cents. That's my expectation, because I do not think that this pullback is enough to trigger the market to be like, okay, let's start buying. Why? Because interest rates are still going to be high. 10% on the, I told you. Setting up for the next event. They've done it. They've come back into that vector candle. I gave you the levels. I told you. But when it succeeds this and goes beyond it, that's when we start buying. Maybe we're not going to start buying just yet because we've got a couple of more zones that we need to pay attention to. Now, if we do get above 30, ladies and gentlemen, that is buying. Please, that is buying. All right? That is buying. A true representation of investors concerned about things is here. Okay? Because this is the put-call ratio. It tells us how many people are looking to short or long on the S&P. But in terms of options, how many guys are favoring puts? How many guys are favoring calls? Macroeconomically speaking, we are in that environment where puts are effectively being favored because of the expectation that rates aren't going to get cut yet. And when you have fluctuations in the Fed watch where investors are trying to work out if we are going to get rate cuts or not, it shows you instability in the market, which means investors don't have the long-term time frame to commit liquidity into exposure for too long. Okay? That's where we are overall. So if you are new, passing into this live stream, okay, then I'm reading your comments. Tino's a random silver eagle coin, though it's literally its name. Okay. Tino is rigged. No. Is Bitcoin vulnerable to quantum? Will this affect Saylor's prediction? Listen, if quantum science or quantum computing manages to crack the Bitcoin, it cracks it, ladies and gentlemen. What are you going to do? You just invest in quantum. I gave you the heads up on quantum before it started to pump. And it's collectively generated nearly 1,900% in gains. I gave you the heads up on that. All right, Circle hasn't been too great, but I didn't say buy Circle with your house and expect to sell it next week. That's a long-term play. And my guy understands that most people in there are part of the federal board. Federal board members are in that company. Like, it's got the backing, man. They ain't going to let the #1 issuer of USDC get listed to be delisted off the US stock market. Don't be silly, bro. Do not be silly. Tino, what's your line in the sand for Bitcoin before you call tops and we all go Borry on this? I've been giving you my line in the sand, right? Okay. I've been saying to you all, and if you just go back and watch the live streams, I said it to you with reluctance, okay? I said it to you all with reluctance. And that was Bitcoin is going to be coming back down to these vectors, okay? Just go back and watch the live streams. It's going to come back to these vectors, going to come back to that vector. All right, this one right here, I marked it off last week. Okay. And we've got this vector zone right here. And we've also got this vector zone. So the logic says that we can expect Bitcoin to come into that. But do you think it's just going to be one drop? No, of course not. We're going to get something like this: up, down, bounce about. Ooh, Nvidia have broken their market records and they've sold millions more of Blackwell chips. Okay, so what does that do to the stock? Sends it up, but it brings it down again, because that's what happens. On good news, they sell because they've been rising. I'm saying it like it's a joke, but it's true. They sell the rallies. And that's what you're witnessing right now. So any retraces on Bitcoin, it's not your bull market is over. And be very cautious. Behind every influencer that is calling for bullish price action, okay? Ask them for the logic. Serious question now. Ask them for the logic. If they give you technical analysis only, they're missing what's going on, okay? Because if you were basing it off technicals, Nvidia should have been at an all-time high. Instead, on the most stellar performance, it decides to slump nearly 4%. So we're not in a technically based environment, technically driven environment. Calling for Bitcoin tops and when's it going to end up should only start happening once the rates are cheap enough. Because the idea of Bitcoin has not succumbed to the masses just yet. Because if they really cared about inflation, they'd be buying the Bitcoin. And Bitcoin will be way more expensive. If in Wall Street cared about inflation and they wanted to hedge themselves, they'd be buying the Bitcoin. But they don't trust it. So they go to gold and do what they normally know. And they hedge themselves over there. Too many ideas are being pushed out on the concept of Bitcoin itself. Okay? And they're not coming through yet. But I feel compelled to say to you yet, because God forbid, I would sound like I'm a person that is against Bitcoin. No, I'm against the idea of when people say to people, Bitcoin is going to test this magical trend line that has appeared out of thin air, that is in complete access to so many young traders, like 15-year-olds are even marking it off and saying this is the trend line that Bitcoin's going to bounce from, and I told you so. Is the market. I've been looking at the markets for over 20 years. You think it's going to just allow us to think that a stupid trend line is going to be the one that makes us take it for granted? Surely not. Surely not. I stand to be corrected. But fundamentally, your Bitcoin will not go up until your rates are lower. And they're not low yet. Look at how much Bitcoin went up back before the interest rates were just shy of 0.25%. Do you understand? That's why Bitcoin went up. Money was cheap. What have we been saying about the money supply? Everyone's like, Tino, yeah, but the M2 money supply, the M2 money supply. It's clear as day that people have a misconception about the M2 money supply. Why? Because the M2 money supply is the potential purchasing power. If the liquidity is there, right, the potential is there. That's why you marry up the idea of the M2 money supply alongside the purchasing managers index. And when you've got many companies with purchasing managers, it's in the title, purchasing managers, if they're not purchasing, that means they're not exercising the M2 logic of purchasing power or potential purchasing power. We look at the M2 and think, yeah, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. That means Bitcoin goes up. At the time that the M2 money supply was going up and Bitcoin was going up, people were purchasing. Go and marry up the purchasing managers index, okay, the ISM, and then go and marry up the M2 money supply, marry it up to Bitcoin's price action, and go look back in 2020, or should I say when the interest rates were 0.25%. The potential purchasing power back then was exercised because it was cheap to do so, right? And then managers were putting that money to work. Bitcoin was going up because everyone was buying. Now you've got a really interesting Bitcoin that's only gone up because of the speculation of Wall Street and the ETF, right? So now you've got Bitcoin coming down because the idea of value has now come into play. Oh, it's a little bit expensive. So when someone then says to you, Bitcoin's going to bounce from here, this is the bottom, this is this, please ask them for their fundamental reason as to why Wall Street would be buying it now to send it up. If they do not even mention a single word about interest rates, if they don't even mention that the possibility of Bitcoin going lower off the back of the idea that Japan are going to increase their interest rates, they're just technical traders hoping that it happens, and then they will delete everything and hope people forget about it. They'll end up blocking people, and then when it actually happens, they're going to come up smelling the roses and say, I told you so. Don't be fickle when it comes to this game. You're putting your money down. Don't even listen to me at times. I'm just relaying information to you, all right? Do what you will with it. Whether it's up or down, ultimately, I'm giving you an option. Because it's your money, man. You guys work for it, right? You're putting your risk down. When a dude sat there saying to you, Bitcoin's going to go to 200,000 because I'm a... Come on, man. This is the dead thing about it. People look at that and they think, well, he's obviously done the homework. I'm going to believe him. But the guy that's done the homework might have a flipping cash bank or a cash cow behind him. He might be sat on liquidity to the depths and he can absorb Bitcoin dropping down to 10,000. He's ready. He's got $1 billion waiting to buy some. What I'm saying is the average retail investor does not have that. He buys Bitcoin at 88. He hopes at every point that an influencer mentions buy Bitcoin at 88. I'm not talking about traders, right? Traders in the crypto space. Nah. Those guys realistically don't have a care about the price of Bitcoin because they trade for movement. If it's one more, look, my boy Jason Casper, trader. Do you think he wakes up in the morning and he says Bitcoin has to hold 87, 87? No, he doesn't. He looks at it and says, what's the deal? If Bitcoin goes up from 87 to 96, he's made some money. That's it. And then he's looking for the next opportunity, all right? He'll tell you when price goes up or down and if he's going to exploit it or not. But an influencer that will just say, I think Bitcoin's going to go because he's just got the hunch and he's using his 4-year cycle and he's hoping that Michael Saylor keeps on buying. And then he goes to on-chain analytics and he looks at these whales. We focus on whales wallets. You know, do you really focus on the whales? Like wallets, do you follow the whole journey? Like, look at this. Like, look at this. You got 520 Bitcoin has been transferred from an unknown wallet to Bitflyer wallet. Who's that? Oh my God. Look, 45 million. Damn, it's gone to a wallet. That's good news, isn't it? Surely that's good. Oh, is that an exchange? Oh no, what are they going to do? They're going to seek liquidity. Quickly sell the Bitcoin. 953 Bitcoin has gone from an unknown wallet to an unknown wallet. He's stacking. Hold it. Diamond hands, diamond balls, whatever you want it to be. It's a bullshit society, ladies and gentlemen, and Wall Street has come in and taken you all under your feet and violated you all. That's why I say to you, pay yourselves as often as you can, because if you don't, you're going to end up being in the same shitty boat that most people are, wishing that they shoulda, woulda, coulda, but they didn't. Mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.